Well, as we reported last week, social media giant YouTube has added a warning to content from many Catholic and pro-life organizations. The labels appear beneath the video with a link to so-called abortion health information. The warning even appears on some videos of Pope Francis. We go now to Rachel Bovard, senior tech columnist at The Federalist and policy director at the Conservative Partnership. Rachel, welcome back. Always great to be with you. So tell us more about these warnings. Why is YouTube doing this, and what effect do you think it's having? I understand it's even placing abortion information on videos about vandalism that happen at pro-life pregnancy centers.
Yeah, YouTube, which is owned by Google, is doing this under the guise of promoting informational services about abortion, because it seems that any content that goes against, the abortion position, meaning that abortion should be a right, might fall under the category of misinformation, according to YouTube. So they claim they are simply providing information to the viewers, but obviously it does feel a little bit like, or a lot like, YouTube's asserting its own opinion that, some of this content about pro-life positioning may be, in fact, misinformation, which is offensive to a number of constituencies, Catholics and myself included.
Yeah, indeed. And Rachel, what so-called abortion information are they providing?
So they are providing a number of things. It depends where you are on Google's website, but they're providing what they say is neutral information about what an abortion is, where you can access it, and how the procedure is done. So they're trying to say, we want to combat, quote unquote, misinformation about what the procedure is. But in reality, it looks like, frankly, they're advertising for the abortion industry and making an in-kind donation effectively to that industry, which again kind of goes counter to the idea that all views should be shared equally on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. I want to switch gears now. The U.S. Supreme Court, as you know, is set to hear two cases on Section 230 and big tech. If you don't mind, can you talk about those cases, why they're so important, and ultimately how you see this playing out?
So this is a pretty big deal in the sense that this is the first time the Supreme Court has taken up a look at Section 230. And for those unfamiliar, Section 230 is this provision of law that grants sweeping immunity to the tech companies for any liability for content posted by the users. Now, over time, as I've argued in several venues and others have as well, this immunity has been stretched to cover all activities by the platform. So what we were just talking about, the fact checks they provide, how they rank content, that is all covered by Section 230. And the question is, should it be? And the case before the court specifically, it's two cases, but the prominent case called Gonzalez v. Google deals with whether or not the platform should be able to amplify content algorithmically. So the specifics of this case deal with the filed by the family of an American who was actually killed in Paris in an ISIS terrorist attack. And the family claims that Google, which owns YouTube, played a role in that by placing ISIS content algorithmically into the attacker's feed. So the attacker wasn't looking for it, the algorithm promoted it. And so this case has to do with, does Section 230 cover, meaning does it make immune from liability, the platform's role in algorithmically amplifying this content? And so that's going to be the question the court hears. Now, I think this could go one of two ways. A very narrow decision, the court could say, well, Section 230 covers all these things except for content related to terrorism, or they could take a very broad ruling and say, well, either a very sweeping ruling and say everything is covered by Section 230 or nothing is covered by Section 230. There's not a lot of, the Supreme Court hasn't weighed in that much on this question previously, except for Justice Clarence Thomas, who's opined on it. He's been saying, look, we should rein in or review this law, but it's kind of unknown where the rest of the justices are going to fall on this. So there's another case potentially coming before the court, NetChoice v. Paxton, which has to do with the Texas social media law, which could present an even broader question on Section 230. So we may not see the end of it just with this case.
Yeah, Rachel, we have probably about a minute left or so, but I quickly want to touch on this. The controversial rapper Kanye West, who now goes by the name Ye, as you probably know, has agreed to buy the social media platform Parler. This as the deadline draws near for Elon Musk and Twitter to reach a deal. I want to get your thoughts on all this, and how do you think that this will impact big tech and free speech?
So my concern with alternative platforms is this. I think they're great and should be pursued. But the problem is, if you are a social media app, you only have 2 access points to the market, through the Apple App Store or through the Google App Store. And we famously saw how that impacted Parler back in 2020 when Apple kicked them out, Google kicked them out, Amazon Web Hosting Services refused to host them. They basically were shut down as a small business. So until that distribution monopoly is addressed, it's going to be very hard for these alternative services to succeed. We're even seeing this with Truth Social. So I'm pro, let many flowers bloom, as they say, but I think we have to address the constraints in the market for them to ultimately be successful.
Rachel, thank you so much for coming on and weighing in. We always appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.